on tonight called Nude Dudes at Brackendale Art Gallery. I don't know if you've heard about it. But if I wasn't here, it's like you paint a nude model. Yeah, pretty cool, right? That happens in Squamish. Nudity in public. So if I didn't have to be here babysitting all of you tonight, I'd definitely be there. But it's okay. If I want to see nude dudes, I can just go home and continue to peek through the hole that I drilled in my roommate's wall. Thanks, James. Looking good.
I've known about it for a while.
He probably just looks back at me. I'm just kidding. I don't know how to use a drill. Anyway, so huge shout out to Zephyr Cafe for hosting us today. If you were here last month, we had our first official run at Zephyr. I used to run these in my backyard because you have to pay to run a show in Squamish, which is wild. But Zephyr decided to host us for free. So thank you so much. Round of applause for Zephyr. Round of applause for Amanda. And since I'm clearly so awesome, Amanda decided to make Poet Next Door a permanent event every third Thursday of the month until May 2023. So if you also continue to have nothing better to do every third Thursday of the month until May 2023, please continue to come and support Poet Next Door and your local poets. Okay, so usually I don't like themes for these showcases because we don't like putting artists in a box because artists obviously love being told what to do. However, today is different. We had Men's Night last month, and since that was a hit, this month's theme is Quest Students and Alumni. So I'm hoping this theme makes up for my less than exciting college experience. So who by a show of hands thinks that college or high school is the best years of your life? College. Who thinks college is the best years of your life? Okay, everyone with their hands up, which is not a lot of you. Clearly your parents are not divorced. Okay, so back to the theme. Most of the students on the stage today have never shared their poetry before. How incredible is that? So brave. But despite that, I promise you the caliber is still really excellent. This is my show after all. I'm not going to go embarrass myself. So even more exciting than that, I facilitated a workshop at Quest University on Monday for the students taking the biology and poetry course. So this workshop focused on getting their poetry off the page and onto this stage here. So our first set of performers for the show today will be performing the poetry they wrote for their biology and poetry course at Quest. So this is going to be super cool. I feel like a proud mom. And I'm in absolute awe of how brave they were sharing the work after only working with me for 3 hours. So you're really in for a treat. Now with that being said, I expect all of you to be non-judgmental, open-minded, and brave. And so my name's Stephanie Andrea Matu. Some people call me Drea in art spaces. I will be leading this land acknowledgement today. I'm a first-generation settler on this land, and my mother came to Turtle Island as a migrant worker escaping slavery in Singapore. The land I come from is called Takaranto. The land we're currently on, so that's where I'm from Takaranto. The land we're currently on is the unceded territory of the Squamish Nation and extends up through Whistler and down into Vancouver. The Squamish Nation is an amalgamation of 16 clans, which includes the Lilwat Nation, the Musqueam, the Tsleil-Waututh, and the Tsawwassen Nations. So, like most of BC, there are no treaties for Squamish. However, we must acknowledge that many treaties that do exist today were broken before they were written. Sure. So I know these land acknowledgements can be uncomfortable to sit through. I get that. It's not a great moment in our history. But we are really lucky to be able to gather here today and truly say, well, whatever that we want. Not a lot of people have the privilege of free speech. So the least we can do is give thanks for the land that we're standing on and the ability to express ourselves on it. Okay, folks, thank you so much for listening. Let's just jump right into it. So our first set of poets are all from Quest University. They're not all students, actually. In fact, our first performer is Marjorie Wanham. Marjorie is a mix and match animal with a science nerd head and a poet nerd heart and some sort of tail. Sexual connotations? She teaches the biology poetry class at Quest University and is very proud of her students, who have taught her so much as they have vanquished their fears of science, of poetry, or both, to produce their deliciously disruptive, boundary-breaching works. Oof, love it. Please welcome to the stage, Marjorie.
Thank you very much, Steph. As Steph said, she gave a terrific workshop for our class just earlier this week. This is the Quest's first in-person biology poetry class, which finished yesterday. And at the beginning of the course, some of the students identified as scientists, some as poets, some as neither. But nevertheless, they all created science-y poetry, which you're going to hear a selection of next. And I asked them all to fill in a pre-class survey so I would have some sense of what was coming my way. And as a result, I wanted to share with you a found poem based on their words before the course started. So this is called Pre-Class Survey. I don't know what iambic pentameter is, and I'm not much of a scientist, but my questions are poetic, and I am biological. I have dabbled in reading poetry. My mother says kissing a man without a mustache is like eating eggs without salt. Sam McGee might not agree. For fire and ice, I still rise. These are enigmas. So is Shel Silverstein, Margaret Atwood, Maya Angelou, Joe Sullivan, Ruby Power. But I am very nervous about writing poetry. My favorite organism is a purple aster, salamander, seaweed, bat, nudibranch, Drosophila melanogaster. Amphibians fascinate me. And the white-winged dove? But will the language of biology feel natural? Science, at the top of the hierarchy of intellect, is inaccessible to those who do not practice it. But I have been enamored by the art of storytelling since the night my father recounted a folk tale before bedtime. Will scientific structure squander the poetry? I find poetry more accessible than science, which is more accessible than poetry. I am starting to blur the lines, cross the boundaries, confuse my brain. I am not sure what iambic pentameter is, but I hope this course will make me fall in love.
Thank you so much. Give it up for Marjorie. Poet and scientist and PhD. All right, so up next is our first student. Up next is Kiel, a fifth-year student finishing her fourth-year degree at Quest. She loves poetry, thinks performing is intimidating but fun. And a firm believer in sharing is caring, which is why they're here tonight. She writes to translate whether it's stories of science, her own experience, or how she understands the world into an accessible format. She thinks she should write more. Please welcome to the stage, Kiel.
Alrighty, hello everybody, and nice to see you all here. So many lovely faces. So this first poem that I'm going to share with you guys is actually one of the last poems that I wrote at the end of the class, kind of reflecting on the whole process. So this poem is called Dissection. Specimen of the day sprawled on the table, preservation by publication. What stories will we encounter today? Lay the poem down gently, slice it open to reveal a visceral story. All systems working in harmony. Organs of science lubricated with language, Extract each one carefully. Describe its form. Note how it fits alongside the others. Untangling the twists and turns. What is your gut reaction? Take it all out, put it all back in with enlightened understanding. Notes in the margins like stitches scrawled up the torso, a mark of your exploration. So this next poem is called Bear Signs, and it describes a walk through the estuary, and it's in the style of Alison Hawthorne Deming's Specimens Collected from the Clear Cut. Warning, bear in area. You're in their home now. The estuary is a fragile ecosystem. Stay on the path. An approximation to nature for your protection and theirs. Rubus armeniacus, evergreen colonizer, escaping domesticity to dominate disturbed sites. Lining the winding path, tracing the brackish water. Underdogs fighting for their rightful riparian range. Rosa acicularis, the wild rose. Rubus notabilis, the salmonberry. Rubus commemoris, the cloudberry. Sweeping Sudatsuga survey the scene. As Tamias scirrus scurry across, scattering seeds, chattering loudly as you walk through their work. Fresh Ursus americanus scat, heaping. Salmonberry seeds replaced by salmon, still steaming. Warning, bear in area. How many signs do you need? All right, for my next poem, it's about this little fella here. It's a Lambus truncata, or spider conch. Lovely shell. Little Vanna White display here. So this is Lambus truncata, an address. What a lonely life it must be, building a monument to your solitude. Another layer to your spire, another brittle point on your crown, a new metric of slow. Your sandstone shell, ridged and lipped, fine-grained layers of cream dappled with amber, like butter browning in the pan. Overcoming your calcareous fortress reveals smooth porcelain, the vulnerable mouth, a kiss of life, a kiss of death, a gift of life. Two more poems for you guys. This next one is called Fire Season. It's pretty self-explanatory. I remember when it was summer, not fire season. Drought, heat waves, combustible consequences of human action. Now we live in a matchbox landscape, just waiting for a spark, lightning driving nitrogen into the soil, or a careless cigarette. It only takes one to turn into a blaze, devouring the brittle grass and parched trees. We wield water in a battle of elements, finally reducing it to a smolder. But the danger is not over yet. There's still fire trapped in the bellies of trees. Biding its time, it must be stamped out. A spark, a blaze, a smolder. Lightning fast to a slow burn. The future is going up in smoke. It's like this every year now. And this final poem is in honor of dear love of mine, the dandelion. Taraxica. Poison me, force me off your curated green. No place for yellow here. My seed head spread is your suburban nightmare. I exist in defiance of perennial revolt.
Give it up for Key L. Titillated. All right, so our next poet is Ella. Ella is a poet/human from Boulder, Colorado. Her pronouns are she, her. She is currently writing a poetry book of original works, hopefully to be published in 2023. Wow, cool. She writes to harness joy and make you feel things. She grew up with many poetic influences in her life, which inspired her to embark on her own poetic path. She never thought it'd lead her here to read erotic poetry about the biological processes of mating to the general public. But here we are. So buckle up, get ready to hear some sexy, steamy, and sciencey poetry. Give it up for Ella!
Alright, this first poem, like Kiel's, is also called Dissection, and it's from a virtual squid dissection. Pungent aromas seep through skin. Rinse me gently and lay me down. Plunge into dorsal darkness from head to toe. Latch onto and hold me. Press mouth to skin, limb from limb, dichotomize me. Cut along the lines, pin mantle to table. Peer into the cavity. Let my cavity peer back. Hold open the door for the feathery heart to beat. Remove the pin and watch as I fall apart. Okay, and this one is called Ode to Epicurean Tuna, and it is about tunas having sex with the sea. Okay. Torpedo from the ocean depths, a missile that swam. Only you outgrew millions, released from creation, clouded by emissions, survived the unknown, the unfathomable darkness, the depths of the waters. Only you became the true machine of the sea, a well-oiled ship of the wind. Only you bent water backwards, making love to the current, passion flowing steadily within an expansive abyss. Only you taste the secrets hidden within the pit of pelagic existence. Okay. This one is called Prolific Polyamory, and it's about the polyamorous lives of sea lions. Okay. Body, a banquet of sunshine. Birthed from desire, your yielding nature beckons me closer. Blood pumping warmth between us, golden skin, leathery and luscious. Pull me swiftly into the depths, the force of your flippers flows through me. Baculum bursts forth, parting waters to meet you. Our frames dancing on top of waves. Oh, buoyant lover, my heart is set on you for this moment. For the call of another pulls me away, teeth pierced into the nape of my neck, your signal that our love was not built to last. A long line of lovers awaits me, bodies each a banquet of sunshine. Okay, this one is about mollusks having sex. And it's called Mollusks in Counterclockwise Love Making. Okay, someone is studying slug porn, watching as they lower themselves on mucus rope, entwining bodies, anti-clockwise cocks. Hermaphrodites must choose whether they crave motherhood or would rather send sperm spiraling. If they want the same, their desires go unmet. Buoyant miracles of want. Penis extends beyond percutium, female gonopore welcomes phallus inside. Flesh on flesh. One unlucky snail watches eagerly, body formed against its will, leftward swirl, sex organs unaligned. Extremely rare. 1 in a million. Snail gazes as slugs finalize their dance. Eating the mucus trapeze, they go their separate ways. Both mother and father to creation, both complete. Okay, so that was the last of my science section poems. This one is one that I wrote. I know, so sad. This is one that I wrote about the feeling of home transferring from a place to a person. And it's called Pulling. I feel my heart being torn. North and south both have a hand gripped around my wrists, playing tug of war with this body. I've never actively missed while I'm gone. The act of missing takes you away from here, takes you away from the present. Missing is equally a blessing. It means that I have been lucky enough to love deeply, to call a person home. What if my love for leaving home is as big as my love for home? Can you take home with you? Can you bottle home up and let it spill over thirsty lips? Can you place home in your suitcase and pull it out to drape your frame on a cold night? Can you distill home into a fragrance to spray onto yearning skin? Can you bake home into something that melts on your tongue? Can you write home into a poem to read aloud when you need a reminder of what home is? Can you warm home up when you're hurting and place it on gently? Can you paint home into the cracks in the foreign walls? Can you hold home in your arms when you need a reminder of love? Can home hold you? Sincerely, someone who is desperately missing home.
Give it up for Ella. And sexual snail voyeurism. Okay. Some of you are about it. All right. Our next poet is Jake. Jake is 21 years old from Portland, Oregon, in the USA. Thank you for that geography lesson. He is a skateboarder, a naturalist, and most likely a human being. Jake writes because eventually a blank page needs something on it. Give it up for Jake!
All right, hello. This first poem doesn't have a title, and it was inspired by research on crows. Recursive symbols are symbols within other symbols, or like phrases within other phrases. Okay, the jet came to a stop on the runway under a full Texas sun, pushing its nose into its mother's breast. As we strode the fluorescent corridors, I thought I saw a federation of crows flying adorned in the decorated fibers of airport carpet. Then there was a blonde customs officer who, digging through my pack, fixed me with the look of a city pigeon. His mouth contorted and his words were drop-kicked into the electric, buzzing room with passionate conviction. "Crows," he said. "Do you ever think of crows?" The skin around his nose began to curl, and mirages of sweat glimmered on the desert sands of his brow. "Smarter than we think, almost distinctively human." Recursive symbols played across the ceiling, and all the while I never wondered how he felt the Texas sun against his skin, or how the touch of another fell across his nakedness. I only thought of what he must see in the eyes of Crow, and I, like the crow, am returning to roost. Okay, this next one is about little mushrooms that you can find in British Columbia here. Did you spy the bells out in the field, scattered or in groups, perhaps discussing amongst themselves of liberty and truth? So let us creep now through the dew, to find their secret meat, for they dress in brown when rain falls down, however so discreet. Handle with care, for they despair, and turn their hue to blue, when cut or pulled up from the earth. I'm sure that you would too. So now as the leaves are turning red, we join them there, down in their bed. And in the sky, the clouds do cry a gentle song, they will goodbye. All right. This next one is maybe not super sciencey, but it was written in the summer. Okay. I've been keeping track of the pulse of blood through my arteries. In the hot summer sun, it gets way low down and beats a soft drum through my ears, weaves heavy bracelets in my ankles. And the hawks, they too accompany this beat. Ever in the background of a day are the birds. The last time I sat here, I dreamed a path through the woods. Tall hemlocks, their needles bowing with dew, wet our cheeks and our palms. They led us to what we were talking about in the first place. I think it was too that I dreamed a poem of fresh grass, a poem written without consent from the future. I dreamed a poem that took a hold of me and with benevolent hand gave me a lift.
Give it up for Jay. All right, up next is Kenzie. Kenzie grew up in Bali, Singapore, Cali. Cali, right? Bali, Singapore, Cali. Sorry, grammar is important. And she guesses Squamish now too. Her job is to sniff kelp and put it on her face, while also farming it. She is in the middle of writing a book in which combines art mediums and seaweed sciences, possibly titled Self-Kelp Work. She feels confident in everything from burlesque, surfing with dudes who drop in on her, and supercross. I don't know half those things. But does not feel confident in performing, so take it easy. Her words, not mine. Reading her poetry to an audience feels even more naked and exposing than burlesque. Give it up for Kenzie!
Hello. So my first poem is it's a conversation from a russula mushroom kind of talking to its parasitic crust. So for those who don't know, russula are like lobster mushrooms, which you probably all like and like to eat, are kind of like the parasitic crust around a russula mushroom. And it kind of changed their chemical composition, but a lot of other things. So it's called I Breathe in Spite of You. But it's kind of also a conversation that I'm having with myself about my dark side, and I feel like we all have our dark side, so it's kind of like, yeah. Oh, okay. Slap me silly in my microhabitat. You are why I prefer the red room now, or orange. And why did you care about the mold in my hair that recently murdered my mind? You altered me, changed my chemical composition. Dark void, destroyed, taken pieces of my sanity, my clarity. I breathe in spite of who you are. Knocked senseless from my senses, ignorance is a bliss in an essence, one I never knew. You intruded upon my gills, catastrophic artist. You lurk beneath the surface, microscopic parasite. Why am I worthless? Hypomyces lactophorium. I breathe in spite of you. a different symbiotic relationship, kind of about coral and algae, which you guys probably know the story. Climate change is happening, water is warming, algae are dispersing, corals bleaching. And so, but it's also, I like you heard from my bio, I farm kelp and I harvest kelp and for my job, and I've kind of algae and kelp and seaweed mean a lot more to me than just a job. It's kind of where I place a sense of identity, being mixed race, being half Japanese, half white. It's kind of my way, I guess. So I didn't want to co-opt any spaces, and I was like, place this kind of thing to help feel a sense of belonging. So, yeah. It was the algae that tore off my clothes to expose my rainbow skin. Pulled open wide, imposter was put aside. It was the algae that bled sugars, not blood, which I licked till dissolved. It was the algae that my world was no longer black and white. It was a canvas. But because of you, I was bleached. It wasn't the algae that boiled water in my core. I sweat out my deceit, my grief, my disease, bleaching from the outside in. It was the coral, now that I'm gone, that demands change. The next thing is about forest fires and like, yeah, chaos, yeah. You will not find me in a picture of my mother, nor will you will carve me out of wood you'll soon throw into the fire. I am translucent wind. I have come to be a catapult of my own flame. Ashes, ashes, we all fall down. How else will a phoenix rise? My last poem is actually my first kind of lesbian experience type thing. So laksa is one of my favorite dishes. It's one of Singapore's national dishes, and at its core, it's like a fishy, coconutty, good broth, whatever. And I made it for her, and it was kind of a moment I was kind of falling for this woman. So it's called "I Wanna Have Laksa Sex with You." I wanna have laksa sex with you. Smell of ganegal, shallots, lemongrass, chili, and coconut. Bucket hat, trench coat, robe. Naked underneath. Bowl. Filled to the brim of our Southeast Asia memories. Memories of our mothers. Slurping. Chopsticks hitting the clit of our bowl. Licking the wet noodles around in my mouth. Giving and receiving every last drop of you. The spicy coconut liquid runs down my chin as liquid also drips between my thighs. Savoring your taste, soft, powerful, spicy, exotic. Eating out the saucy broth. Eating out you, saucy woman. The citrus of the lime, the delicate fishy flavor. No amount of the heat of the chilies that makes me wet. No amount of water can quench my thirst for laksa sex with you. Give it up for Kenzie.
I don't know if you noticed it, but poetry transforms you, performing transforms you, and you could really feel it with your performance, Kenzie. Awesome. Also, give it up for mentioning your mother during sex poems. Freud is rolling in his grave. All right, so up next, We have Umair, a pessimist, an optimist, a scientist, a writer, a narcissist, an altruist. He's all his contradictions, just like his DNA. He writes because he wonders, and wonders because he wanders. Thinks because he experiments, and experiments because he wonders. Give it up for Umair!
Oh my god, so many friends. Thank you for coming. So the first poem that I'm going to read to you today is about, just continuing on the sexual theme, is about sexual reproduction in mushrooms, and also continuing on the mother theme. Also about a conversation that I had with my mother years ago. It is unsurprisingly called Mother. And it goes like this. Fungi fruit lamellae, papery ribs, release your spores into the wind to be carried across continents and cultures. In the instances they prevail, they lounge and then germinate, or slumber should situations shift, states of dormancies shattered only by suitable seasons. Fungi fruit lamellae, your spores will imbibe water and swell, and support the meeting of mycelia, an expansionary reaction to acidic hostility, a survival strategy. From the mycelia in the earth, you will grow anew, spokes like bones under Adam's breast, your roots anchored still, through the connections of papery threads by which you feed. Fungi fruit lamellae, unearth your courageous heart, and let your spores go. This next one is about cell death and other things. You will know when you hear it. It's called If I Change Shape, I'm Done. Tell me why you would set the troops loose. I was just trying to get by. Did the color of my skin threaten you? Could you not just have passed by? They clip onto my fingers the harbingers of death. Developing devastation, final cascade. No, there is no escape. Like soldiers on a battleground, they scatter, looking for allies that are willing to betray. My overwhelmed engines turn, swift treachery, rapturous release. The beams of my house buckle, my skeleton splits, my skin cracks. Staring down the barrel, I look inward with the hopes of a silent prayer. If I change shape, I'm done. This one is a bit abstract, and it's written from the perspective of a DNA being the most famous thing in the world, and it's tired of its fame. You do not perceive the power of the pen with which you pencil my providence. You, the great poet, the unexpected prophet. Your words pervert the plainness of my plight. Not a behemoth predicament, just a microscopic variation. Not the biblical revelation or the atlas of your kind. I am just my strands, codes, flaws, and sugar. Do you consider how your preaching echoes, breaking my bonds without consent? A dangerous abstraction, a powerful conception. I never asked for clarification of your identity, you narcissistic entity. And yet you aim all your persistence towards scrutinizing my molecules with your indecipherable cursives and your endless inquiries. Did you forget already? All my burdens are yours to bear. Stop before I get too heavy. This last one I wrote like 2 hours ago, and this is for all the friends. I don't know the words to it very well, so I will probably stutter and stumble a lot. This one's called Skedaddle. The lake is filled with ice. Yes, my love. The lake you plunged the ice sheet into. The bygone days flow by. The woman in earthly orange exposes the skin of daylight. She's laughing by the fire, nocturnal, evergreen. Her chest of kindling full of folk tales. Do not enter the dark misery of the night. My friend, come back to the fairy tales with me. You hide the sorrow in your voice, borrowing happiness from the morning. It's getting dark again. Will your love get lost? My friend, our coming of age has gone forever. The conception of your loss bring the sound of water, brimming from my eyes. Do not go the road forgotten by. My love, your heart flutters like the wind in your auburn hair. The light is on. I look up at Orion. You meditate in the ripples. The wolf in the fairy tale will die too, but your spores will still shine, effervescent like the spinach moss under the brilliant sun. Skedaddle now. Don't wonder whether I wonder, for I always will. Remember how my poems send signals. I'll bring you the sound of the mountain and the chatter of the cities. I'll describe for you the icy lake on a November morning.
Give it up for the mayor. A pessimist, an optimist, a scientist, a writer, a narcissist, an altruist, and clearly a romantic. Adding that to the list. All right, so that includes our first round. That was all of our students, part of the biology and poetry workshop. Give it up for them. So proud of all of you. That was absolutely incredible. Thank you to each and every one of you. So we're going to take an thank you. We're going to take an intermission right now. So get a beverage, use the bathroom. There's so many of you here, so maybe you could like pair up and go together. All of you got in here for free, so you're welcome. Which means I'm not getting paid to be here. Nobody's getting paid to be here. Just hopefully, I think they're getting paid to be here. Okay, great. So what that means, it's by donation only. So please donate to make future events happen. There's a jar right there behind you on the table. It's funny, so I wanted the sign to say $5 donation suggested, but my friend Chloe wrote it, and she wrote $10 donation, and then I told her to correct it, and she still wrote $10 donation, so I said, okay, fine, $10 donation then, recommended. So please donate $5. Minimum. So since it's student night, also I used to be a student, so I still have student loans, so you can donate to that cause too if that makes you feel better. All right, so I don't know if you're here at the beginning, but I did teach this workshop I facilitated this workshop at Quest for the first round of students to get their poetry off the page and onto the stage. So I'm on campus, and campus can kind of get confusing. So I stopped this student who looks like they know where they're going, and I say to them, hey, do you know where the academic building is at? And the student says to me, they said to me, you shouldn't end a sentence with a preposition. That's not the proper way to speak. And I said, well, of course I corrected myself, right? And I said, pardon me, do you know where the academic building is at, you dickhead? Anyways, folks, thanks for sticking around. We got our next round of poets coming up. So please welcome to the stage, Jesse the Generous. The true life is absent. Simp for sunshine. He writes when he has to, and he has to all the time. Welcome to the stage, Jesse the Generous.
Seriously, this has been great. It's so nice to see all of your faces, and I invite you to campus. I work in the administration of Quest University, so this is a nice break from the banalities of student records. I'm going to bring my trumpet out, as I believe that poetic expression goes beyond the word. And so what you're about to hear is a combination of the instrumentality and what that expression lends to a traditional spoken word performance. And this harkens back to the time during the pandemic where we're all shut inside, trying to think of ideas to have fun and deal with our emotions. So this is what I've come up with. An original composition. It's not about weed, it's actually about dogs, but I thought it'd be funny. Floofy tail, floofy foot, floofy body, floofy snoot. Doggo, hereafter named. Without you, with sadness I am gaudy. With you, my disheartened heart tamed. With a bork and much torque you pull me, after the squirrels who doth dare offend. I might be tempted to much chastise thee, but a snort and acute retort much mend. You walk beside in fields flush with flowers. Trees sway with wind, watching, I am dwelling. You stop and run and stop, such your powers. I watch thee prancing, emotions swelling. Tired, much nonsense, very boredom, you sploot. You're a good boy, and I boot thee on the snoot. Similar to In My Ear, this is a poem I wrote recently. Book is a little bit too big, just enough to be awkward. Grandpa's grocery list for kindergartners. Garlic horsecock and penis butter sandwiches. Diarrhea coffee at the Roadkill Cafe. A side of soldiering in sodden snow, a bit of frostbite for the soul. Soft stone floors and bare feet pat, 2 labs snoring in a bunk bed, fat. Back bacon and burnt toast with butter, pillows of care with us to smother. All part of our labor education. Gasoline and gunpowder's whiff, tulip and hydrangea's gift, both smells present on the patio if the climate doesn't accommodate. Couch and sweaters and shell casings, English tea and an old angle grinder, Nan's quilting lessons and laundry with the boys, quoting Marxist literature. The curriculum of a rough-cut senior.
Hot chocolate with whipped cream.
Hot chocolate with whipped cream? Why don't we add that to the list? There's a whole structure here. 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3. Anyway. Brick breaker and Tetris on the train, provocateurs in police vests, a rag and vinegar for the tear gas, playing Pokemon on the picket line. Late nights talking politics, picking comedies from Blockbuster's VHS stand, spending hours foraging for walking sticks, showing me how to be a good man. You teach to decolonize in between tying flies, boomer's blood, one might surmise, but never you, whose thoughts surprise. At grad, you gifted me Trotsky's Trial. I haven't read it yet, and I know you haven't either.
Give it up for Jessie. when he said he was going to pull out his trumpet. I'm like, it's not that kind of show. All right, so next up, we have Gurbani. Gurbani is a recent Quest graduate who studied immigration and socioethnic identity during her time in university. Okay, we get it. You're better than us. She grew up in a cultural flux, and after immigrating to Canada, she attempted to put into words some intricacies of her identity through poetry. This particular poem came to fruition as she noticed that others' judgment and assumptions, whether subconscious or conscious or explicit, rigidified stereotypes of race and culture as they were repeated. They stood out to her because they contradicted her definition of herself. Why do you need to ask again? What is an Indian supposed to look or sound like? This poem is a reminder to listen more deeply to what people feel comfortable sharing about themselves, to be intentional with your words because they can lay heavy on someone without you knowing, and be kind to the humans you surround and are surrounded by. Welcome to the stage, Gurbani.
So, in simple words, aka paraphrasing, like Quest has taught me to, this poem is about being where I am. Yeah, you'd think that after giving so many university presentations it would be easier, but I still always get fight or flight, and since I've taken too many flights, I'm going to read you this poem. But where are you really from? What I say does not seem to satisfy. So let me clarify. मेरा घर सिर्फ एक जगह नहीं है. My answer really is the same. There may be a dissonance between what you hear and what you associate me with, but I won't be renamed because this transformation is ongoing. My roots are nurtured by my people. They are my home. While crossing oceans, I hold tight their dreams for my future. Associating with multiplicity is how I have grown. Not to ignore your curiosity, but your disbelief can be ignorant too. My answer isn't lacking, and yet it feels like we're constructing a taboo. मेरा घर सिर्फ एक जगह नहीं है. तुम मुझे सच्ची में जानना चाहते हो? If you want to know me, if you want to know me, listen, looking past only what you see, because it's tiring to suppress. I just have to put this here. There we go. Okay. If you want to know me, listen, looking past only what you see, because it's tiring to suppress emotions when they stem from your expectations of what I'm supposed to be. And my foundations are as solid as ice and as fluid as water. As I dance from land to land, I stayed a friend, a sister, a daughter. Cities transformed into mountains, trains to trails, and sand to snow. I twirl through the differences to find similarities, because human connection is what I know. Log mera ghar ban jate hain. So, when you repeat your question, take my pause as a suggestion. The answer is within my discretion, not an area of contention. But where are you really from? My answer really is the same.
Give it up for Gurbani. Thank you. Takes a lot of guts. Takes a lot of guts to share a poem like that. All right, so this is kind of embarrassing. Is Cass Carrier in the house? Alrighty then. So let's. Okay. Sorry, this throws me off a little bit. I'm going to share a couple poems from some Quest students who actually weren't able to make it today. So first poem I'm going to read is by Lizzie. And this is the bio Lizzie wrote about herself. Lizzie Howard is an organism from the genus Homo sapien. Her habitat ranges from northern Carolina to southern BC. She is usually found in the mountains, but makes occasional trips to the coastline. Promising new research has shown that she has been participating in writing poetry, which is a new behavior. Research also indicates that this inspiration is drawn from her experiences in the natural world. If Lizzie was here, please give it up for Lizzie. I really hope I do this justice. This poem is called Flower Dissection. Ornamental sexual reproduction. The razor blade gently pulled the sepal and the petals away and off. Inside, the hidden, delicate structures, clean and dry, spread wide. Carefully remove a stamen. The stalk portion of a stamen is the filament supporting the anther, and the anther produces pollen grains. Pollen grains are directly involved. Now focus on the slender pistil. All parts that make up the pistil are usually sticky. It reveals the long stalk. Now very, very carefully mount. Throw away your extra parts. Return to high power the long way. Flower anatomy functions. And that's flower dissection. And the next poem is by Carly. Carly Iverson is a gymnastics Olympian with 4 gold medals and a Nobel Prize-winning poet and author of 32 successful novels. She writes to change the world. She is a world-renowned biologist who has created the first artificial intelligence being and has been to the moon twice. Unfortunately, she will not grace you with her presence tonight as she must return to her current pastime in California, which is being a waitress and going to community college, which she only does for shits and giggles. If Carly was here, please give it up for Carly. So this poem is called DDT. It's actually inspired by the poem by Judith Moffett called Cows and Corn. DDT. Descending upon corn and cows and us, a dark dust, ominous, alive, down, down, down in all of us. Hydrocarbons burst secretly. To us, particulates are everything. To cows, to corn, they are nothing. That is DDT. So, I've got a 10-minute set to fill. I was not planning on reading today because I am not a student, but the show must go on. So I am going to share what I've got here.
Yes.
Let's see what I've got here. All right, I was not prepared for this. Okay, since all these students want to share sex poems, let's share sex poems. All right, I shared this last month, but there's so many new people here that I'll share it with all of you too. It's called A Waterfall. I had not come before I met him. No, I had, but not from the touch of another. I was my own man. I was my own woman. I was totally self-sufficient, but the funny thing is about being self-sufficient is that you end up satisfying everyone except yourself. Because as much as this woman loves some time to herself, honey, coming is like drinking. The more, the merrier. So I sufficed with self-sacrifice, me being generous, turned into my vice, crippling me and drying me the out. Because how could I be turned on when I was turning up instead of tuning in and tuning out? One night stand over a dusty nightstand, tuning my clit like a radio dial. Then there's him, not bothering to listen to the radio airwaves coming from my body and my mouth saying, honey, that's not the right station. Going from AM to FM to, oh my God, girl. But then you, Oh, you came along and I came right along with you. Drenched in a pool of my own selfish pleasure instead of drowning in a puddle of minute-long puncture wounds mistaken for penetration. I finally came. I finally came with you. Came to my senses, came into my worth, came to realize that I deserve orgasms. Thank you. And most importantly, I came all over your beautiful face. And baby, not only have I come, but I have arrived. I'm gonna I have not written any new work. You know, show running is hard. It takes up a lot of time, and I have lacked some inspiration lately, so if you've heard some of this stuff before, you've listened to your favorite song like 100 times, right? So I'm gonna do this next one here. I'm going to be inspired by Jesse and bring some music into this space. This one's called You Love You. You used to be the most interesting person in the room, but you're only interested in you. You do things not because they're right, but because they benefit you too. You've got stories for days, you've been wild, and you've got all the tea. But the wild thing is, you've got no questions and no natural curiosity for me. You don't know my passions or my interests. You use language as a trick. You're grandiose but comatose to things that make me tick. I'm disappointed when we're together because you're not the person I need you to be. But it's not you who's a letdown. Truly, it's me, because each time I expect it to be different, like something's gonna change. But I get you on the phone and once again I'm feeling strange. Like something's funny. You know, like a funny bone, not funny ha-ha. Like ordering a vegan sandwich and finding out that it's foie gras. There's nothing wrong with foie gras. It's not bad. I'm not vegan. It's just not what I wanted. But I'm stuck with what I ordered, because staying hungry, staying alone, leaves me haunted. You love you. Do you know what it feels like to share? Know what it feels like to care? No, because you love you. I said, leave me alone, leave me alone, leave me alone, but please, don't leave. I keep you around because it's not you, it's just someone that I need. It's not good for both of us. I can feel you're waiting for it to end. I try to pull you forwards, but only backwards you can bend. I want you to be enough, and maybe you are enough for someone else. But I can't let go unless you find out for yourself. I can feel you trying sometimes, but it don't do much. Transformation is slow, if not impossible, when your emotions are out of touch. You scratch the surface, then paint over it again. Shallow conversations on the day-to-day, you feel more like a stranger than a friend. I want to uncover you. I want to be naked, but I realize this is just really how deep it gets. Just a bunch of, how was your day? As I say, okay, and every day I lose my wits. Where's the challenge? Where's the eagerness to discover the unknown? You're scared and underprepared to discover what can't be shown. You're only concerned about you, because you love you. Do you know what it feels like to share? Know what it feels like to care? No, because you love you. I said you love you. Do you know what it feels like to share? Know what it feels like to care? No, because you love you. I can't ask for support because I play the role of supportive, although you should have an endless supply because you take more than you give. What you do give is often just enough for me to stick around today, but how long can you juggle just enough to it's feeling rough and keep this up every day? The truth is that you can't. The scales are often tipped. Your capacity is yours alone, and you're already ill-equipped. Have you always been this way? Is it me who's been led astray? I get blinded time and time again by the same men and their same ways, but you know, it's not men. That's the easy way out. We're both wrong. I'm wrong for not letting go. You're wrong for putting on a show. And it's wrong because I know what I have to do. But it's hard to say goodbye. I held on. I gave you hope. when I said we could give it another try, but that's not really true. You know, leaving that little room for chance. It will be the same song and the same janky dance because I'm your mother and your lover. I'm your friend and your therapy. You're my burden, leave me hurting, take my energy and leave none for me because you love you. Do you know what it feels like to share? Know what it feels like to care? No, cause you love you. I said you love you. Do you know what it feels like to share? Know what it feels like to care? No, cause you love you. Thank you. All right, folks. So we've got our last poet of the night. Her name is Katie. Katie is a student at Quest University, surprise, whose favorite form of communication is laughter. She has always dreamed of being a stand-up comedian, but has learned over the years that she is much better at being laughed at than with. Those are her words, not mine. Since professional comedian isn't in her future, she decided to turn to poetry, where silence is accepted and not an indication of a set gone horribly awry. When she is not drawing humor inspiration from James A. Caster, Katie is leading initiatives at Quest to raise awareness about wood fiber LNG and Fortis BC. Learning about, yeah, that's right, boo. Learning about systems of oppression and settler colonialism and playing in the forest. Her poems draw on themes she has explored throughout her time in Squamish and in classes at Quest. She hopes you find your own meanings in her words. Please welcome to the stage, Katie!
Hi, I'm Katie. It's really weird to hear my voice. I'm going to be sharing two very personal poems with you, much like ones we've heard in the second half. That was amazing. The first one is called I Could Tell You Were Nervous, and I wrote it as a final project for a queer theory class that I took last fall. I wrote it both as an ode to the class, so you'll see a lot of references from the materials that we studied in this class, but I also wrote it to reflect on my relationship with the topic of queer theory and with my own queerness. Since writing this poem, I've actually been able to be more comfortable with myself and come out to my parents this summer, which is nice. You look nervous up there. I could tell you were nervous. You look nervous up there. I could tell you were nervous. I could tell you were nervous. I could tell you were nervous. 15 years of repression will make you nervous. 15 years of, you can't say that. You can't think that. You can't do that. 15 years of sexual repression, and it's a thing because WebMD told me it was a thing, will make you nervous. To be seen, to be heard, to be looked at in that way. So yes, I was nervous then. I was nervous in all of those moments that you saw my nerves. But by the look of my quivering body, I am nervous now. I was nervous in all the moments you didn't see, on the first day of class, and on the second, and on the third, and on and on and on until now. Because how do you learn about the complexities of identities when you don't know your own identity beyond secretly repressed? Fear stirs in my chest as we slink to breakout rooms. What will I learn today that will completely change my perception of myself? Something I know so little about, but the little I have figured out, I'm afraid to lose. Gender is constructed. No, it should be essentialized. But wait, who does that harm? It's only been 3 days, and already I have flashes to arguing parents. Accusations thrown around a wooden box, and they can't see that I'm here too. Only this time it's not my parents. It's Beauvoir, it's Wittig, Foucault, Lacan, Butler. Voices escalating, getting louder and louder into the binary and the hegemonic and the damn masculinist signifying economy are a fiery red. And I'm hidden in the corner, watching it all burn down. If I'm not careful, I will burn too. But we are a rushing river, and our course changes sharply. My lips graze the edge of the river, the edge of us, and clear dribbles down my throat. One moment I think I taste fresh mountain juice, but soon there is silt, and silt becomes sand, becomes pebbles, becomes stones in my belly. So many definitions and intersections, it's starting to feel all too heavy. At the same time, I'm scared to say the wrong thing, anxious that my words won't come out right, that I'll hurt the ones who so clearly know their own identity. But I'm spared by the bacteria in my throat that takes my voice away. It's not a metaphor, so don't feel like you've missed something. It's just strep. I say nothing, and I take it all in. Johnny Appleseed permeates my fever dreams. Blood, spit, cum, it makes me uncomfortable at first, but in between states of delusion, I realize that these colorful liquids and all that they suggest are a part of me. Inside my tough-skinned body and out. Maybe I'm softer than I know. Around a strange oval table, we discuss two-spiritedness, to be of many spirits at once. It's a concept that I come to admire, but it's also a concept we can't even begin to talk about without addressing our colonial past. I say our, but I mean mine, my colonial past. I said earlier I don't know my identity, but that was a lie, or at least half of a lie. In the past 2 years, I've come face to face with my whiteness, my Americanness. Katie, you've heard of a mirror before, right? If only it was that easy. You see, to be repressed is to deny your sexuality, your gender, your race, your privilege, your nationality. I never used to look in mirrors because I knew I wouldn't like what I would see. However, 2 years ago, something changed. It's embarrassing to admit that it was when George Floyd was murdered. And a pandemic happened, and I met the right people. So, as of now, I know my identity, part of it, at least. And addressing our colonial past means confronting my settler identity. It's acknowledging that my whiteness got me here, but it also stripped the indigenous people whose land I live on rent-free of their own understanding of their identity. How does my white culture steal power from those it brought here to be slaves then, and in a way now, or because we've created a world where the only place to succeed is in this empire? An empire that has turned everywhere else into this economically worse option. These are some of the things that I was conditioned not to talk about in my 15 years of repression. But here, as a drop of water in the rushing river, I feel comforted by the friction of the other drops, vibrating at my side, and I can finally talk about it. So now I ask a more important question. How do queers of color reclaim their power? They're queering heterosexual spaces, public city parks, and national parks, that's how. Through films like Tongues Untied, and through indigiqueer futurisms about the end of humans on Earth, that's how. I might not know my sexuality or my gender identity, and I'll be the first to admit just how scary that is. Yet if I've learned anything from this journey we've been on, it's that if I don't have to figure it out right now. In the meantime, I need to make space for those of us who are sure of their identities, or at the very least, sure of the fluidity in these identities. I'm incredibly fucking nervous, but as long as I'm not stealing the spotlight from someone who does have a queer story to tell, then that's okay. This next poem is a bit of a different tone, and I wrote this as part of my introduction to my keystone, which is like the best equivalent of a thesis. My thesis is currently called The Function of Play in Settler Colonialism and Decolonization, which is a terrible name because it's supposed to be playful. So if you have any ideas, please let me know. Needs to be changed very soon. This poem is a call out to my fellow white settlers. I am you, and as you should know that I'm not relieved of any of the guilt that I expect you might feel from such a call out. Although I am beginning to engage in the work of decolonization, this does not absolve me of my privileges or of my westernized worldviews that uphold systems of oppression. I'm calling you out, but I'm also calling myself out. I'm calling us all out in the hopes that we can imagine a decolonial future together. This is called The Bug. We learn about decolonization, about listening to the land, about webs of relationships between beings. Each day, our cups fill to the brim with knowledge, and each night we gulp it all down. On occasion, we remember to savor each sip, but more often than not, it's just too delicious to resist. Yet these experiences, albeit joyous, challenging, and insightful, are starting to feel like they're directed at the wrong souls. Because sooner or later, we could have figured this stuff out on our own. Eager learners we are, willing to ask the ferns and the pines to guide us, our ears are tuned in to forest voices. Somewhere along our journey in this life, we came to understand that what we were being taught in colonial institutions was not the only truth. We started getting stomach aches from all the Western knowledge bullshit And we were fed like a bad case of the traveler's diarrhea. Now we can't consume the liberal agenda without having to immediately run to the toilet. But we are only a few. Most of our fellow white-skinned high school classmates didn't get the book. They never saw past the colonial truths or through the colonial lies. Their reality is the only reality. And now that they've graduated from esteemed universities where the parting words at a convocation of thousands of other brainwashees where the world is your oyster, all that's left for them to do is take what is rightfully theirs. So they take and take and take until there's nothing left for the taking. It's this weird mixture of people, however. Some take because they want to, because they can, while others take because there is no other option. I sympathize with these people, and at times I am one of these people. And yet, regardless of what they ever took in the first place, the outcome is the same. Rivers dried up, salmon disappeared, drinking water turned to poison. Forests indistinguishable from war zones. Now the only questions that matters is, can bullets shoot through humans faster than humans buzz through trees? A tangled mess of bodies, some fleshy, others wooden. Ultimately, it's all the same pile of death and decay. They knew this was coming, but that didn't deter them. With a desire for more money, power, and status, no amount of convincing could steer them away from the next stream of revenue. When colonization and capitalism are normalized, it makes sense to drill for oil here and build a pipeline there. Canada needs an economic boom. Or what? Somebody's bound to ask. Or Canada loses a respectable place in the global market. Hardworking Canadians are laid off from their beloved industry jobs, and the wealthy can't buy their third private ski resort. But in another reality, the answer might be different. So when someone asks, or what, we say, or ecosystems recreate themselves. Indigenous women and girls heal from trauma and know that they aren't next. And the promise of Indigenous sovereignty becomes a possibility. But they can't see this, remember? Their reality is the only reality. Sometimes I feel hopeless, fearful that the dystopia of forest war zones that hasn't yet spread like wildfire from our southern continental neighbor to us up north is the only future I will know. But as I breathe deep breaths of air that is still clean thanks to my fir and cedar and pine friends who stand tall in the face of sharp blades and subsidies and scary land developers, I remember too that my Indigenous neighbors are bravely, honorably, warmly sharing their stories, even when we don't deserve their kindness, and they are offering us another way of knowing. I remember too that after long last, professors are designing courses where decolonization is the core teaching. And I assure myself that if something can be taught, then under the right conditions, it can be learned. Learned by even those who never got the bug.
Give it up for Katie. All right, folks, that's our show. Thanks so much for coming. Please stick around. There's still a little bit more left. I'm just so proud of all the students here on the stage today. A lot of them have shared their poetry before, and a lot of them have not. And it takes a lot of guts and bravery to come up on the stage and spill a piece of your soul. So thank you so much for witnessing that and validating that with your applause and your snaps and your oohs and your ahs. Thank you. So I'm opening up the floor for anyone who wants to share a short poem or maybe some thoughts, tell a story. Maybe you heard something today that you want to share. It stirred up something that makes you want to share. Anyone? Great. Yeah, come on up. Well, and then you can come after, Mom.
Mari Kombuche, Mari Kulaman, and Chekiawa again, which means my tens, greet your tens, showing that I'm carrying no weapon. My name is Kiawa, which means the protector, but everyone in Canada knows me as Sophie. This is something I wrote in a different language 29 days after the biggest protest back home broke down, and it's been 1,128 days since the day I wrote that poem. It it doesn't have a name, but right now I'm gonna name it Lost in Translation, as you're gonna listen to me instantly translate from one language to English so you can understand what I'm saying. And I'm reading this because tonight I'm flying back home and I'm terrified because it's been way too long. I'm the one that never lacked anything. I am the one that has been unnoticed as one of the rich class. I'm the one that had a plate of food waiting for her every day after school. I am the pain in my mother's eyes while spending peso by peso. And I am the smile on my grandmother's face. Sorry. I'm the smile on my grandmother's face. And I am my uncle's shoes that have no sole. I'm my grandfather's fear every time a protest approached. And I'm my mother's rage at seeing so much violence. Sorry. I am the screams of my lovers against the police. And I am the one that look at your face and scream, son of a bitch. I am Sofia Vargas, ID 20295-906-7, because I learned that I have to scream that in case I go missing. It's been 29 days since I woke up wondering if you already went missing. I remember all the times we shared bread at an Occupy school protest. And I remember all the teas we shared by the heat of the fires. I remember when we dreamed about changing everything and how we thought that we were invincible. I remember you because it's been years since we talked. And I remember you because my mom asked me if you were still there. I remember you because they said that if I was still living there, I will no longer be alive. 67 days ago, I arrived to Quest. Actually, it's been longer than that. It's my birthday. 51 days ago, I tried to fly while riding a bicycle. 51 days ago, I discovered that I cannot fly. And that wearing a helmet is a good idea. 30 days ago, something broke in me. And 30 days ago, I woke up with grief. With that sadness that makes your body ache. That sadness that you can see in your face. Sadness that it's difficult to silence. That sadness I thought that has passed. That grief that one attributes to the wind, to the sky, to miss home. But it's already been 30 days and it's still here. Surprise, it's been longer. 30 days ago have passed and 6,362 people did not arrive home. 30 days have passed and 2,381 people have not left the hospital. 30 days have passed and 270 people lost their eyes due to police violence. 30 days have passed and there are people that is never going to return. There are things I wish I'd never seen, things that don't let me sleep well. But those things that I saw, it was the last thing that many people saw. So I won't close my eyes for those who can no longer see, because those things that I wanted to never have seen, I never want to forget. It's been 30 days, and there is a part of me that hopelessly broken, but it's a part. but it is a part that it's not useful anyways. I don't know how to translate that. Thank you.
Give it up for Sophia. That was amazing. Wow. And I'm gonna actually end the open mic there. I feel like it's appropriate to end it there. And thank you so much, Sophia. That was powerful. And I'm sure very difficult. And some things cannot be translated into English. So I'm going to move into, I feel like this is appropriate now, the somatic wind down. Sometimes poetry is very overstimulating, can be triggering, and I don't want to just rip your heart out and then push you out the door. So we're going to come back down to earth right now together, and we're going to do a grounding exercise. So grounding exercises help you center and anchor yourself to the present moment. Grounding may be particularly helpful if you're experiencing flashbacks, anxiety, and disassociation symptoms. So what we're going to do is we're going to do something really simple. We're just going to focus on our breathing while you control how you inhale and how you exhale. So you can start by inhaling for a count of 4, holding for 4, and then exhaling for another count of 4. If holding for 4 is too hard, you can hold for however you'd like. That's totally fine. So we're going to do this together. We're going to inhale for the count of 4. And hold for 4. And then exhale for 4. Good job. One more time. I am going to move on to another exercise, but feel free to not participate in this one if you want to just continue your breathing. Okay. So we're going to do something called body scanning. We're going to be scanning our own bodies, not other people's. Don't be creepy. So Candela Brower describes body scans as an active meditation that may help you relax. So may being the emphasis, it's not, I don't guarantee relaxation, but it should help. So here's how to practice body scanning. You're going to start by getting comfortable. Most of you are already sitting down. If you want to just sit on the floor, like lean against the wall, you can do whatever you'd like. There's a free seat here. There's some room here. So you can stay in the chair you're currently in, and once you've done so and you're comfortable, close your eyes. You don't have to close your eyes either, only if you want to. But you're going to focus on your lower body first, if you can feel your lower body. If you can feel your feet, notice how your feet feel on the floor or in your shoes. Slowly, you're going to move your attention to your ankles, then your knees, your thighs, your pelvis. You're going to identify the temperature, the pressure, tension, and any other sensations you feel as you move up your body. Now, if you feel any tension, and in your lower body, you just might take a deep breath and focus into that area. You can use that exercise we just did, the 4-count breath. And take a deep breath, focusing into that area, and then exhale and release it. When you feel that body part relax, move on to the next body part. And that's how you practice body scanning. So you can continue to body scan if you'd like. If you're done with grounding and woo, we're going to do an activity together. You can participate. You have a right to pass. I don't care. So this game, we're going to bring the mood back up now that we've grounded ourselves. This game, I've named it myself. And it's called Let's Do a Line Together. I told you we're going to have some good, wholesome family fun.